Good morning, everyone. I don't really know where I'm going with this one this morning, but we'll start anyway. Several years ago, I did a lot of research into WW1. The main reason being I was writing a story about a soldier in the war, and then I decided that I might as well make this story about my father, being as he was in the First World War. He signed up at the age of 17, which was very young. There were a lot younger than him that signed up, actually some as young as 14. But the actual age of signing up was 19. But many of the lads at that time decided to go to war, or it was decided for them by overbearing parents or by people suggesting that they were cowards if they didn't go and fight for their country. What you have to remember is, in those days, the children weren't as mature as we are today. There was a lot of things that went on with them that, made them appear to grow up quickly, but mentally they weren't really as mature as we are. I always realised how horrible the war was, but I don't think I realised just how horrible. Last night I watched Peter Jackson's film for the BBC, which was a remastered project including a lot of original World War I footage, which he colorised to make it much more vivid and much more poignant. Watching the film really knocked me back. I knew that they went through some terrible times, but I don't think I really knew how awful it was. Watching that film brought it home to me, and it has made, well, you can see it's left me very emotional. I don't believe that we should glorify war, but I do believe that we should remember the wars, and we should also, Lottie, shh. As you can hear, I've got a noisy dog in the background. I do believe that we should remember the wars, all the wars that have been fought in this country and in other countries, because, to be quite honest, I think that by remembering them and remembering the atrocities of war, maybe, just maybe, it might make us want to not go there again. I know that world peace is something that is probably just a dream in a lot of our minds, but if we just remember what it does to people, because a lot of young people these days don't know exactly what went on. They're not taught about it anymore. They're not taught about history as we knew it. We've now got Lottie in the background. And I do think that perhaps if we teach our children that what went on in those wars shouldn't be repeated, Nobody should have to go through that. My father came back a changed man. Obviously, I didn't know what he was like before, but I do know that he was very damaged by it all. He was invalided out with wounds all down the left-hand side of his body, shrapnel wounds. At one point, it was thought that he might lose his leg, but the hospitals did manage to save it. But he did have shrapnel in his brain which they couldn't take out, and which I do think caused a lot of his problems. It's not just the people that fight the wars that suffer, it's the people they come home to. There's always that thing that is at the back of the soldier's mind that we can never kind of dig out. We can never find out exactly what went wrong. My dad never really talked about the war. He never talked about what he experienced. He told me little things. He told me where he was. He was in Ploegsteert Wood, which is in Belgium. He told me that all his battalion were wiped out, apart from him and one other lad who he didn't know whether he survived or not. He told me about the funny things about it, the bathtubs full of fleas, things like that, you know, which I suppose might not have been too funny to the soldiers at the time, but obviously we'd find it quite amusing now because obviously we have different standards of hygiene with baths and things like that. But that was about as far as it went. As for what actually went on in the war, he never ever talked about it, never ever said anything about it, never told us how he felt about it. He went through 2 world wars. He was in the ARP and in the Second World War, plus he was driving buses and had a very near miss on one of the buses he was driving. So I guess really he had a double whammy there of the awful things that happen because of wars. But just to try and push them under the carpet and pretend they never happened is not the answer. I think we need to remember the men that fell in all the wars, in all times. We need to remember that they were people. Some of them only children, and basically they had mothers, they had girlfriends, some of them had children of their own. And we have to remember that they fought for what they believed was right at the time. And all wars are terrible. There's casualties on both sides that shouldn't really be. And some of the casualties are innocent bystanders. I know that. But as I said before, just brushing it under the carpet doesn't make it go away. Not then, not now. I believe we should be taught about it. We should learn about the atrocities of war, and just hopefully we will grow up better for it, thinking to ourselves that we don't want to be part of that. We don't want to go through that again. I know I certainly wouldn't want to. And I am so glad that I was born after the Second World War, because I don't think I would have wanted to be part of it. But perhaps if you have the stomach for it, watch Peter Jackson's film, because it really does bring home to you exactly how terrible it was. Anyway, I'm going to sign off now because I am getting a bit emotional, and I will be back another day with something more cheerful. Okay? All right. And I will see you all again. Bye for now.